The most expensive thing you will ever own is the version of yourself that doesn't exist yet, simply because you cannot reach him. We are born into a world defined not by what we possess, but by the hollow spaces left by what we lack. It is a haunting truth of the human condition. The moment a hand closes around a prize, the prize begins to die. Its color fades, its weight lightens, and the pulse of desire that once thrashed in your chest falls silent. But the thing that stays out of reach, that remains immortal. It remains divine. Consider the legend of the Tantalus. For eternity, he stood in a pool of water beneath the fruit tree with low-hanging branches. Whenever he reached for the fruit, the branches rose. Whenever he bent to drink, the water receded. He was surrounded by abundance, yet defined by the no. This isn't just a myth, it is the blueprint of your nervous system. Your brain is not wired for satisfaction, it is wired for the pursuit. We are biological heat seekers, programmed to ignore the warmth we already feel in favor of the fire we haven't touched yet. This is the hidden architecture of value. We do not value things because they are good, we value them because they are scarce. In the world of dark psychology, this is known as the scarcity heuristic, but to the master manipulator, it is something much more potent. It is the art of the high wall. When you make yourself available, you become a commodity. When you become a commodity, your price is governed by the market. But when you become a no, you become a luxury. You become the ghost that haunts the seeker's mind. And as we peel back the layers of this psychological shadow play, you will begin to see why the most powerful people in history were never the ones who said yes, but the ones who knew exactly when to vanish. Because by the end of this journey, you will understand the final secret, the one truth that turns a beggar into a king and a follower into a god. The tragedy of the modern era is the death of the mystery. We live in an age of radical transparency, where every thought is a status update and every location is a pin on a map. We have been sold the lie that connection requires accessibility. But look closely at the things you truly worship. You do not worship the sun because it is always there. You worship the sun because it disappears every night, leaving you in the cold, wondering if it will return. The absence is what creates the awe. When you give someone your yes too quickly, you aren't being kind, you are devaluing your currency. In the mechanics of attraction and power, a yes is a closing of a door. It is the end of the tension. It is the resolution of the cord. But a no is a cliffhanger. It creates a psychological itch called the Zeigarnik Effect, the tendency of the human mind to remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. By denying someone, you occupy their mental real estate rent-free. They will replay the rejection, analyze the motive, and build a cathedral of obsession around your refusal. Think of the no as a mirror. When you tell someone they cannot have you, or your time, or your secrets, you force them to look at themselves. They ask, "Why am I not enough?" In that moment, the power dynamic shifts entirely. You are no longer the one seeking validation. You are the one who validates. You have become the gatekeeper of their self-worth. It is a cold realization, but a necessary one. Most people do not want the object. They want the victory of obtaining it. If you give them the victory, the game is over. If you withhold it, the game becomes their entire life. This tension is what fuels the grandest ambitions of history. The explorer doesn't sail for the lands he already knows. He sails for the terra incognita, the land that says no to his maps. The scientist doesn't obsess over the laws he has proven, but over the anomalies that defy him. We are obsessed with the friction. We are addicted to the resistance. And yet there is a deeper level to this, a dark core of human nature that suggests we don't just value what we can't have, we actively despise what comes too easily. If a diamond were as common as a pebble, we would kick it down the street. Its beauty is secondary to its rarity. The same applies to your spirit. If you are a yes man, a person of constant availability, you are the pebble. You are the background noise of someone else's life. But there is a way to transition from the background to the focal point, a method used by the most elusive figures in shadow psychology to command total devotion without saying a single word. It starts with the understanding that every no you utter is a brick in the pedestal they will eventually place you on. But be careful. There's a thin line between mystery and irrelevance. If the wall is too high, they will stop trying to climb it. The art lies in the partial no, the hint that the prize exists, but the price has just gone up. This is the logic of the elite. Why do luxury brands burn their unsold stock rather than discounting it? Because they understand that the moment a common person can have it, the elite person no longer wants it. They are not selling leather and silk, they are selling the feeling of being the one who was told yes while the rest of the world was told no. This brings us to the concept of the forbidden fruit syndrome. There is a specific part of the human brain, the amygdala, that reacts to restriction with a surge of defiance. When we are told we cannot have something, our autonomy feels threatened. To reclaim that autonomy, we overvalue the forbidden object. It becomes a symbol of our freedom. This is why the forbidden lover is always more passionate than the spouse, why the banned book is always the most read, and why the secret society is always the most prestigious. As you sit there, you might be wondering if this is a form of cruelty. Is it manipulative to withhold yourself? Perhaps, but consider the alternative. To be an open book is to be read and then discarded. To be a yes is to be used until you are empty. The world does not reward the selfless, it consumes them. The no is your only shield. It is the only way to preserve the sanctity of your soul in a world that wants to fragment you into 1,000 data points. Every great philosopher knew this. Nietzsche spoke of the pathos of distance, the need for the higher man to separate himself from the herd, to create a gap that cannot be easily crossed. He knew that intimacy without distance is just friction. To be truly valued, you must be a mountain that is difficult to climb. The view from the top is only beautiful because of the struggle it took to get there. If there were an elevator to the peak of Everest, no one would care about the summit. We are moving towards a revelation now, a concept that sits at the very heart of why you feel so empty despite having so much. It is the paradox of choice. In a world where everything is available, nothing has value. We are drowning in yeses. We have endless movies to watch, endless people to swipe on, endless food to order. And because we can have it all, we want none of it. We are starving in a feast of accessibility. The only way to find meaning again is to reintroduce the no, to limit yourself, to choose the one thing and reject the 1,000 others. But there is a final, darker layer to this, a secret that the world's most powerful influencers and leaders use to create cult-like following. It's not just about saying no to others, it's about making others say no to themselves. When you convince someone to sacrifice their own desires to please you, you have achieved the ultimate form of psychological dominance. You have become the can't-have that they are willing to lose everything for. Think of the way a shadow grows longer as the sun sets. The light is leaving, and in its departure, it creates something larger, more imposing, and more mysterious. You must become that setting sun. You must be the thing that is leaving. The moment you show a willingness to walk away, your value triples. The moment you show that you do not need the other person, they realize how much they need you. It is the ultimate irony of human interaction. The person who cares the least controls the relationship. This isn't just about romance or business. This is about the relationship you have with existence itself. Fate is a fickle mistress. She gives her best gifts to those who are indifferent to them. If you chase life, it runs. If you stand still and say no to the distractions, life eventually comes to sit at your feet. This is the vacuum law of prosperity. When you create a void by saying no to the mediocre, the universe rushes in to fill that void with the exceptional. We are nearing the end of our exploration, yet we are only just beginning to touch the true power of the void. You see, the final secret isn't about how to get what you want. The final secret is realizing that wanting is more powerful than having. The no is not a wall, it is a lens.
It focuses your energy. It turns a scattered beam of light into a laser that can cut through steel. Most people spend their entire lives trying to turn no into yes. They beg, they plead, they work themselves to the bone, thinking that the yes will finally make them whole. They are the ones standing in the water of Tantalus, forever reaching. But the elite, the ones who truly understand the dark geometry of the human mind, they do something different. They don't reach for the fruit, they turn their back on it. They walk away from the pool. And do you know what happens when you walk away? The water follows you. The branches bend down to reach your shoulders, because in the hierarchy of the mind, the one who can say no to the prize is greater than the prize itself. You become the unattainable. You become the can't have. And in becoming that, you become the only thing the world truly desires. Remember this, the world is a mirror. If you chase, it flees.